Hello everyone and welcome to another Halloween season review. This evening I am reviewing Forbidden Sky, Height of Danger. It is a game published by GameRight and designed by Matt Leacock for 2 to 5 players, ages 10 and up, and it takes about 16 minutes to play. This is the third game that Matt Leacock has done in the Forbidden series. We have Forbidden Island, Forbidden Desert, and now Forbidden Sky. So let's go ahead and show you what comes in the box, some of the gameplay, and some of my thoughts on it. So I have the components kind of spread out here on my table. We have a rule book that is very well done, easy to understand with lots of pictures and explanations there, so that's really nice. We have a series of storm deck cards here that are laid out. You can kind of see what they're comprised of. We have some two-sided cards for different difficulties. So in some of the other Forbidden games, the difficulties kind of set by the tracker that you can see here. This is our storm intensity tracker, but this is actually set for the players, the player count. So you can see there, if you're 2 players, start there, all the way, if you have 5 players, you can start at the very bottom. So that is set according to the number of players. And then the blueprint for your rocket ship circuit is going to show you the difficulty. So we have novice here, and then going to normal, which adds a medium-sized capacitor there. Up to elite, you're going to add an additional lightning rod and an additional small capacitor, all the way up to legendary, which is 3 medium capacitors, 4 small capacitors, and 4 of the lightning rods. Okay, so those are your difficulty, and your goal of the game here is we have arrived at this platform up here with this rocket ship, but we need to explore and find the different capacitors and lightning rods and set everything up, wire it all together to blast off all together in this really cool rocket ship here. Very, very cool. Initially it will have a little tab here you can pull out, and when you complete the circuit, the rocket ship will actually blast off, which is pretty cool. So the game has, this is a completed game here with a completed circuit for the novice level. You can see here, maybe a little bit difficult, but it has a starting tile here that is 4 squares long, and everyone will start here on the landing platform. And you can see here a nice little homage to the Forbidden Desert. We have landed on this platform from our ship from Forbidden Desert, and there's a lot of challenges in this game coming from high winds and lightning strikes. So there are some equipment cards that will be able to help us as we try to gather, explore, and set up our circuit. There's lots of the tiles here. They're kind of this cool cloud illustration on the back, as well as the platforms with the different wiring and different things there. So let's see what else comes in. You can see here, this is the insert, which is really nice. Everything has a place. Stores great in the box. And we have a good selection of roles to choose from. So you can see here there's 6 roles, and so it adds some variety to the games and how to play and everything. So a lot of good variation, and it's fun to kind of see the different elements to this. So, you know, in Forbidden Desert, you're actually trying to find different components that are already on the board and trying to uncover those. In this one, it's interesting because on your turn, one of the things you can do is a scouting action, which is basically drawing a tile from the stack and placing it in front of you. So you can have a max of 3 tiles in front of you at any given time, unless you are one of the roles. The surveyor is allowed to have 4 of these. So you're exploring the island there, and then or scouting the island to draw these. Another thing you can do is if you are adjacent or you're on a tile, you can place one of your tiles that you have in an explore action adjacent to the tile that you're on. One of the restrictions, so you'll see these little copper type wires, which are really cool. They do a great job on these tiles. They really kind of have this metallic sheen to them. But the rules are that you need to align one of these copper wires to one of the copper wires on your tile. So I can do that, even though that dead ends that. As long as I have one connecting, I'll be good. So really, this is good any way I want to place it. However, this one here, for example, I would not be able to place like this. I would need to place it either like that or like this. Okay, so that's an action you can do. So we have the scout, drawing these, the explore, placing, or I can do a simple move action, which takes an action point. You have 4 action points on your turn. So we can do all of those different things. Another thing you can do is place a wire. And that needs to be from one of these components here. You'll see we have lightning rods and these little capacitors that will get played. As you complete these little sections, you're going to place those components as you have them available onto the board. So this one here is a small capacitor. We would put that piece right there. The lightning rods look like this. So as soon as you place this, you're going to place a lightning rod there, which is good. We need lightning rods to be able to power our circuit, but they can be detrimental during the game. Because what happens is after your 4 actions of moving and exploring and wiring up all this cool circuit, you need to draw cards from the storm deck equal to the number area shown on our storm intensity tracker over there. So we shuffle all these up. These are all going to be shuffled face down. And as you can see, there are a lot of these lightning strike cards. So one of the things that can happen is when lightning strikes, it strikes all the lightning rods. And anything that's powered, wired, all these different platforms, which may be wired to a lightning rod, is going to be full of electricity. And any players on those tiles will receive a jolt and they will lose a life point here. So we have on the cards here, you have life points. You can see the lightning in the background. Every single time you get hit, you go down by 1. If anyone gets to the skull and crossbones here, we lose. Also, we have rope, and I'll explain that here in a second. But, so lightning. Obviously, it's an interesting element to the game because you need to wire this up and have placed the last wire when everyone's on the platform with the rocket ship. So you don't want to wait too long, but you also don't want to immediately start wiring things because 2 reasons. Number 1, you start wiring these and it makes it very hazardous for everyone as far as the lightning goes. Because the more lightning rods and the more things are wired up, the more the higher the chance that you're going to be hit by lightning, right? Get a jolt of electricity. Luckily, some of the tiles here, as you can see here, these 2 tiles have this little symbol here, and it's a Faraday cage. So if anyone's on those tiles when lightning strikes, they are safe actually from the lightning, from that electricity, okay? So there are some safe havens from the electricity as well, and you just have to kind of plan for that and try to end your turn in a safe way. So the other thing that you have to be worried about is high winds. And you can see here also there's some 2 cards in here that change the direction of the wind. So that's here. We keep track of the direction of the wind. And that's the other element, is you want to place yourself at the end of your turn, if you can, in a way where you will be safe from blowing winds. So if I was here and a high winds, I would simply get blown to this next tile, which is no problem because there's a platform continuing there. But if I was on this tile, I would be in some bad shape because I would get blown off and saved by my rope, but my rope is going to lose a wear point. Okay, and if anyone gets down to the skull and crossbones on that, you lose the game. Luckily, you have a knotsmith, and if they're doing their job, then they can heal or, create some more rope for themselves and for the other players. And we also have a medic, navigator, climber. Won't go into all of those. There's the electrician that can place a wire action for free. But so that's the different winds. So if you are blown off, or you may be in a situation where, let's see if I can find one on here. You may be on a situation where you are blown, not necessarily off the board, but you're blown onto basically a tile without a platform. So if I was here, the same thing would happen, as I would lose a wear and I would remain there. The climber is an interesting one because they can actually be blown over the clouds basically and be okay. So that's one of the abilities of the climber. The other thing that you have is some of the tiles have this little guy here, and this one's a little interesting. It's like a little dome shaped thing. Basically what that represents is it's a wind shelter. So if you go in there, if anyone's on this tile, they'll be safe from the blowing winds. So, and that is basically the game there. Whenever you place a tile with these little gear icons, that's how you will get all these different equipment cards, and which are really, really helpful and big impact on the game if you can use them at the right time. They allow you to move around the board, heal yourself, or fix rope, shelter yourself from the lightning strikes. Look at the top 6 cards of the storm deck. And look at those and rearrange those. Gravity hooks to protect you from wind. And this guy where you can actually look at the top 4 of these tiles, and maybe you're waiting for that last piece of the large platform to go on the board. So then to win the game, you need all the players that are playing to be huddled on one of the 4 tiles that makes up the platform, and then you need to do the wiring action last. You can't wire it up first or the rocket will take off without you. So it's pretty cool. This is a little actual working circuit. So when you're done, it's pretty cool. We got a little lighting and sound effects there. So really, really fun. This one, play with my kids. I play it as a family. One of my kids, this is his favorite one of the series. I think the kind of physical components of it helps. And the other ones had that too, but the element of, wiring it up and being able to put out these little capacitors and place the wires and the circuits, and there's a lot going on. It's definitely more going on than, say, Forbidden Island. I feel like it's maybe a little bit, we haven't really started going into the more difficult blueprints yet, but I feel like it's probably still a little bit more manageable than Forbidden Desert for us. But really, really fun. I like the tactile element to this. The first time we played, you only have a certain number of long wires and short wires, and the first time we attempted this, there's definitely a spatial element to this. There's definitely a spatial element to this, and you have to consider how you're going to do that circuit as you go along. The first time we played, we basically almost had it, but the circuit wasn't quite long enough. These wires weren't, so we weren't able to hook up the circuit the way that we needed to, and by that time it was kind of too late. So there's definitely a little bit of a learning curve as getting an idea of how we're gonna do the circuit. But I think it's really, really well done. It definitely fits in line well with all the other Forbidden line games. And I really, really enjoy this one a lot. This one may become my favorite as well. I know my daughter still likes Forbidden Island the best just because it's a little more, it's because of the simplicity of it. And that's definitely true. With Forbidden Sky and Forbidden Desert, there's a lot more going on, and there's a lot more things that you need to kind of keep track of. Whereas Forbidden Island is just that real simple, that core element to it. It goes a little bit quicker. But all of these are just really, really great games, especially for families. And love these cooperative games, and that is how Lou sees it.